Next one is the Otakaro Regeneration Company, Rob Kerr of Kerr and Partners. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the opportunity. First of all, well done, Brendan and team, everybody, for getting to this milestone. I'd like to endorse what Leanne and Roger and others have just been saying around this is an important place to get to, but of course it's not the end point; it's a starting point as well. So well done, guys, and it's great to be here. So as you're aware, my background includes working with the Waimak District Council, leading the physical recovery out there, working with Sarah and Otakaro, leading a number of the anchor projects, as well as more recently leading the development of the regeneration plan for the Otakaro Avon River corridor. I don't do that anymore, which is maybe good for some people, and it's definitely good for me, but my role now is somewhat different, but I maintain a strong interest in the residential red zone. So I'm now director of the Otakaro Development Management Company, and we're working with a range of project developers, investors, financiers, and potential operators to put together a proposal for you that is, I think, very exciting and very ambitious, and will bring together a whole range of projects that are, well, they are the preferred land uses that are aligned with the regeneration plan that we drafted. We're currently looking at 24 different projects across a broad range of project types, which we think that will bring massive benefit to the city and take a significant step towards realising the vision of the plan. We won't be looking for council funding, and we're in a position to fund and deliver those projects ourselves or with our partners, and we can do that at a reasonably quick rate. In fact, we prefer to do it at a reasonably quick rate because then the benefits come as a whole portfolio rather than in a piecemeal approach. They're all commercially based, able to realise public benefit and reflect the desires and aspirations that have been expressed through the many years of consultation around the future use of the residential red zone. So importantly, they're able to pay a ground lease to the council as landowner should you adopt this agreement. Which brings me to the single submission point or deputation point that I want to make. I could talk about all the other bits and pieces in the global settlement, but I just want to focus on this one thing. And it relates to clause 28.1c of the sale and purchase agreement for the residential red zone. Because I believe this clause, as it currently stands, will have a significant long-term impact on the ability for the city to realise the vision of the regeneration plan and the potential that is in the RRZ. This clause says that any revenue generated from the residential red zone must be shared 50-50 with the Crown. This is despite the council will be taking on all the maintenance liabilities associated with all the land. Now, my particular point is in relation to the Otakaro Avon River corridor, but this clause applies, I think, to all the residential red zone land. It's also similar, if not the same wording as has been used with the Waimak District Council on the settlement that the agreement that they reached with the council, with the Crown some time ago. So when we work through the regeneration plan, we're very much aware, and a key philosophy behind it is to find ways to make it self-financing. We look very closely at whether, from a capital point of view, it would be able to help fund the public side of the projects. In reality, the land is worth very little, and it is very difficult to make any actual development or capital cost out of it. But the key challenge, I think, that as a city and as a council and as ratepayers that we'll have is the significant maintenance liability that comes with this land. So you may be buying it for $1, but that is not the cost of ownership that you should be thinking about. So the analysis that we've done, that I've done, shows, however, that with the right balance of commercially based and public sector projects, free access projects, you can drive enough rental income to fund the maintenance of the balance area. And I think that's really important because the numbers are reasonably large and it will be forever. It will be a cost in perpetuity that the ratepayer will have to bear. So if 50% of the revenue, however, goes to the Crown, you have no chance of being able to secure enough rental income to be able to make this area self-financing from a maintenance and operations perspective. So I would recommend, obviously, from where I'm coming from, that the council rejects this clause or seeks to amend it so that it is a net revenue, because it is a profit share, right? So it's a net, so the share of the 50-50 share of the profit is after maintenance and management costs. This is why this is a very significant financial decision for the council, because the $1 price tag produces a multi-million-dollar bill every year for maintenance. And I would suggest that's unnecessary. It obviously has the financial benefit in terms of council's accounts, but also will have the impact of impeding or preventing particularly community-based projects from progressing in the area, because the problem of maintenance and who pays for it will always be an impediment to any of those sorts of projects. But if you're able to wrap a structure around it where there is a self-financing part to it, so those sort of projects that everybody wants but cannot afford because of the long-term maintenance are able to be funded. So I think you have the opportunity to set this up to deliver the vision at minimum cost to the ratepayer, but enable it to happen. And I really support the comments that Leanne was making, is that you need to think in the different ways to be able to achieve this. Otherwise you will be everybody will only be thinking of this as a park and be putting their hand out to the council for funding of park-like facilities. And there are such significant costs associated with that. So I'd suggest you want to look very closely at clause 28(1)(c) of the sale and purchase agreement and really consider whether there's some alternative ways to do that. As always, I'm happy to assist you and council staff in understanding that further, and happy to answer any questions.
Well, I thought, given your background, I was going to ask you a very direct question on this particular subject, which was, in the Waimakariri district's agreement with the Crown in relation to the settlement of their residential red zone component, was this provision included in it? And if so, have they at any time leased or sold any element of the land?
So as I understand it from my memory, is that this applies to the agreement, but in practice it only applies to the mixed-use business area just on the north side of the bridge over the Kaipoi River. It still applies, however, development of that area in reality is some years off, and when it happens, that 50-50 cost share profit share will apply. I don't believe it either doesn't apply or it doesn't practically apply to the balance of the area because there's no or very little commercial outcomes there.
It always seemed to me that there was potential for the lease value. I mean, we're not talking about selling the land. It's the leasehold. When we're talking flat zone, I mean, there is potential for zoning land in the Port Hills. So, and I think that's a separate issue. But if you look at the flat land, it seems to me that there is potential for the lease to be reinvested in the red zone for areas that are going to be park-like. I mean, the green spine is going to be this incredible pathway from the city to the sea. You'd actually kind of expect that there is a kind of a reinvestment mechanism, not a return to the Crown, certainly not under the circumstances that the land was taken from those in the residential red zone. I can speak from personal experience, but from that experience, people were not given a genuine option of the Crown's offer. It was take it or leave it, and there was nothing in between.
Yeah, so I think a plain read of the agreement as it stands would suggest that if the council leases the land, then 50% of that revenue goes to the Crown, not reinvested in the area.
Okay.
You may find a way to structure the arrangements differently that doesn't happen, but that's a plain read of the agreement as it
Yeah.
stands from me.
Okay. I've got Tim and then Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Just two quick things. One, with regards to the clause, when you rent something or lease something getting a profit, whether it's gross, net or otherwise, one would usually take the costs of maintenance prior to the finished net or gross profit, if there were any. So,
That's correct. That's not what it says, but that's...
no, but we're not there yet. So, yeah,
that's right.
Okay. And the other thing you raised with regards to people looking at a great green, like a park, quite right to a degree, but we do have those like the AMP showgrounds in Naipurnawai where we've got that middle ground, if you like, commercial plus recreation. So it's not like a Higley Park, etc., with Port Hills.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Cool.
Right, thanks, Rob. Your concern seems to be around the viability of the actual, the potential businesses or operators of spaces within the land. Is that right? I mean, are you concerned that 50% of their profits and their revenue would go to the Crown? Because it's only the council stuff. So anything that you did there, if you were able to use that land, would not be impacted. It would just be
No,
the
I
council.
think this is an issue for council, not an issue for developers or project
so it
operators.
shouldn't stop operators.
So it would pay a market ground lease or whatever's agreed.
Whatever's agreed.
But then under the agreement, council would need to hand 50% of that over to the Crown.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
that would halve the council's revenue.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, look, thank you very much,
Thank
and really appreciate your submission this morning. Well, deputation this morning, not a submission.
A
Thank
pleasure
you.
every time.